Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel, The Bold and Beautiful Always, and today we've got something really exciting lined up for you. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Grace felt her pulse thunder in her ears as Finn cornered her in the dimly lit corridor just off the design studio, where the hum of fluorescent lights overhead cast stark shadows across the sleek, modern walls. He stood with his shoulders squared, a tremor of righteous anger in his voice as he spoke, the words tumbling out in an urgent rush. "Grace, I know what you've been doing. I know about the missing samples, the shady deals with the suppliers, how you've been covering it all up. You thought you could use our relationship as a shield, but I can't stay silent anymore." The confession hit her like a physical blow, echoing in every fiber of her being, the world tilting on its axis. She would have called out to him, to reach out and stop him escalating things, but the weight of what was to come crushed her vocal cords, left her mouth pressed shut. His eyes, those clear, determined green eyes she had fallen for, flicked with hurt and betrayed hope as he held up the evidence, photographs, spreadsheets, supplier contracts, proof she had been siphoning premium designer materials out of Forrester Creations and rerouting orders to a clandestine startup she'd launched behind Ridge and Eric's backs. Finn's every breath trembled with urgency. "I have to tell Mom and Dad. I have to tell Hope, Liam, everyone. What you've done can't go unpunished." His voice cracked on the final words. She felt her stomach twist, to recognize in him that earnestness, that devotion to truth, was to know how much she stood to lose. And yet, the advantages, the power she'd gained, independence, the adrenaline of control, coursed through her veins, refusing to be relinquished. Anger flared at being exposed, at him for believing he could just walk in and shatter her carefully constructed reality with truth, his truth. She'd bided her time, meticulously planning her retaliation, knowing that if he succeeded, she would return to being the wronged wife with nothing. Even worse, she would be humiliated publicly. As Finn advanced, stepping closer, the edges of his evidence trembling in his hand, she could almost see the cracks he'd carved in her facade, hearing the echoing clap of her world fracturing. Her hand slid beneath her jacket, fingers closing around the small, unassuming syringe nestled in the inner pocket. A potent, fast-acting toxin that Grace had commissioned from a discreet source months ago, simply in case. She'd dismissed the voice in her head that said she'd never use it, but now the syringe felt like her only lifeline. Finn halted abruptly, looking at her with cautious optimism, as though seeing past the Grace that stood before him and glimpsing the partner he thought he'd known. "Please," he said softly, voice heavy, "just let me help you. Tell me why, and we can fix this." The words died as Grace's eyes narrowed. This was no longer a plea for collaboration, it was a threat to her autonomy, to the secret she'd built. She took a step forward, heart pounding, her own breath caught in her throat, adrenaline buzzing through her limbs. Finn froze, caught between anger and concern as he took in her hand, the syringe glinting ominously in the stark lighting. Time slowed. Grace saw in his expression shock, confusion, pleading. A mournful acceptance that things had spiraled too far. And in that aching moment, without giving him a chance to speak again, she thrust the syringe forward, planting the needle in his exposed arm. He exhaled sharply, hurt more than pain, as she depressed the plunger. The viscous liquid coursed into his veins, and her vision blurred, tears stinging in her eyes at the irrevocable act. Finn's wide eyes locked with hers as the toxin started its cruel work, a silent betrayal more piercing than any scream. He opened his mouth as if to say something, why? But his breath came in little gasps, his knees buckling. Grace, shaking, reached out to steady him. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice cracking like fine porcelain. She couldn't meet his gaze as Finn collapsed, his body limp in her arms. The corridor around them seemed to close in, the overhead lights stuttered. Footsteps approached, the shouting of a passing assistant, someone, anyone. Grace's mind raced. Had she miscalculated? Would he die? Could she still reverse it? But the syringe was empty. Finn's eyelids drooped, eyelashes fluttering, consciousness ebbing. Grace sank to her knees, cradling him, the cold tile pressing against the linen of her blouse, the warmth of his body slipping from her arms. In that moment, silent and eternal, memories flooded her mind, his gentle smile when they'd first fallen in love, the way he'd brushed her hair back as she fretted over a dress fitting, the light in his eyes when he believed in her designs. And now this, the grotesque miscarriage of trust. Her heart tore in two, the desperate ache of self-preservation and the evangel of love she had betrayed. She pressed her cheek to his forehead, feeling his ragged breath on her skin, the faint pulse that still fluttered beneath her fingertips, offering a tenuous thread between life and death. The footsteps were closer now. She whispered, voice hushed yet urgent, "Help me keep him alive. Tell them he was poisoned. He can't remember anything. He can't know." She pressed her palm over his chest, feeling the flutter of life, unwilling to relinquish the control she'd seized and terrified of the cost. As the assistant rounded the corner, frozen in shock at the tableau, Grace rose shakily, wiping phantom tears from her cheeks. She forced a calm voice. "Call 911. He collapsed." Already, her plan was spinning outward. The evidence of her culpability still lay beside her: photographs, supplier lists, the recorded confession she'd made to herself. She'd have to clean that up. She'd blame a third party, someone malicious who'd sabotaged the company, poisoned Finn to frame her. She'd claim she was covering for him. Her lie would have to be perfect. And as the paramedics arrived, stern-faced professionals with odd stares, Grace sank onto the floor beside Finn, holding his limp hand. The siren wail outside grew louder, but inside her head, everything was still. Barren. Cold. The helpless, privileged, maddening stillness of knowing what she'd done and fearing what she'd become. She stared at Finn's ashen face, his eyelids still closed, his chest rising and falling in shallow rhythm. His life, or at least what they'd had together, hung in the balance. In that moment, every rational thought shattered beneath the weight of her ambition, her fear, and John Finnegan has been a perfect doctor, husband, and father ever since he joined the Bold and the Beautiful. Steffy Forrester's husband Finn went above and beyond to fulfill every request she made of him. Is there truly enough? Shin's marriage is beginning to fall apart, and fans of B&B are likely to see a different side of the Good Doctor in the coming weeks. Spoilers for the next episode of Bold and Beautiful can be found below. The Good Doctor is struck by Luna's demise. Hard. Dr. When Finn first learned that his daughter Luna Nozawa had passed away as a result of the deadly shootout, he appeared unperturbed. The death of Luna has been put on hold while everyone rushes to save Liam Spencer. The shock will wear off and the dust will eventually settle. According to B&B spoilers, John Finnegan will eventually have to confront the devastating truth about the death of his bio-daughter cousin. The fact that Luna is no longer a threat to Queen Steffy and her family is great news. Her indifference to Finn's loss of his daughter will cause friction between them. To make matters worse, Finn's wife will leave town to be with her dying ex-husband when he needs her most. The adoring husband Steffy left behind might no longer exist when she returns. Since they got married, Finn has forgotten a lot of Steffy's doubts. Instead of blaming her husband for being the sperm donor for Aunt Poppy's baby 20 years ago, one could make the argument that Steffy should at this point give her husband some credit. Steffy is dumped by Finn according to the spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Finn might not welcome Steffy Forrester with open arms but rather with divorce papers when she returns home following JMW's maternity leave. Do you believe Finn is deserving of better? Is it unfair of Steffy to place the blame for Luna's crimes on him? According to the spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful, Will Spencer and Elektra Forrester's romance may end in disaster, so let's think about how Luna Nozawa might haunt them. Luna's recovery, according to Lee Finnegan, ended in death, but all indications point to her lying about that. Nevertheless, the other characters appear to be ready to move on and have accepted Lee's account as true. Will and Elektra will undoubtedly be eager to put the Luna drama behind them, but it may be more difficult to say than do. Even when Luna isn't around, she may still find ways to haunt Elektra, and Will had to get up close and personal with Luna when he carried out that sting operation. In those B&B scenes, Will had to make out with Luna and say hurtful things about Elektra, so it was clear how upset she was. Naturally, we are also aware of the fact that Elektra has been preventing Will from going to bed. While Elektra has been dragging her feet, Will is completely prepared to take things to the next level. Elektra might decide that she is tired of waiting now that Will has gotten out of a dangerous situation with Luna. Since Elektra might have lost Will, she might want to seize the day and finally get into bed with him. However, It might not be so simple for Elektra to get Luna out of her head. We could certainly imagine Elektra flashing back to Will kissing Luna and pumping the brakes all over again. Will's need to play Luna in that way disturbed Elektra so much that it could haunt her as they tried to connect more deeply. Will, on the other hand, might actually be haunted on his end. It would be interesting to see if Will freaked out when he thought Luna was with him in bed instead of Elektra. It would also be clever to continue employing Lisa Yamada in spite of Luna's death. In the event that Elektra and Will require another obstacle, Luna may also appear in fantasy form once she is in Lee's care. According to the spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, at this point, everyone seems to agree that Luna is not yet dead. Did Lee finish Lou's surgery at any point? In fact, some people even believe that her Aunt Lee is hiding her to give her a fresh start in life. Clearly, her aunt still loves her, but Luna is the subject of this discussion. She has already killed 2 people, attempted to kill Liam Spencer, and shot her own grandmother, Sheila. But here's the thing, when it turns out that Luna isn't dead, how will everyone react? Additionally, what will happen to Lee's medical license? Additionally, Remy finds herself in a kind of bind as a result of the current plot. Where does his character go if Luna is dead? Naturally, there was a lot to say about this storyline on the internet, and a lot of it was definitely negative. Even as a comment, some show critics and fans said, obviously Luna isn't dead. The body has not even been seen by us. Lee's surgery did not finish for us. When will Luna appear once more? She's obviously keeping Luna alive like she kept Finn alive, the way Lee is suddenly defending Luna after she basically refused to acknowledge her existence for the majority of her time on the show. Is this going to be a repeat of the whole Finn presumed dead storyline where Sheila finds out, fights with Lee, and then runs her off the road again, wrote another critic. Yawn. I imagine they would not let Luna go, she has been the golden goose as of late in terms of a character that people are interested in, another person said. Additionally, considering that she was nominated for an Emmy, I would expect them to want to do whatever it takes to keep her on the show. The CBS network airs The Bold and the Beautiful on weekdays. 4 times, check your local listings. For the time being, please let us know what you think in the comment section below. As always, keep checking back for the most recent information about your favorite royals and for spoilers from Beyond the Gates, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, The Bold and the Beautiful, and The Young and the Restless. Since John Finnegan arrived on The Bold and the Beautiful, he has epitomized the ideal man, an unwaveringly devoted father, a compassionate husband, and a gifted doctor whose every action has underscored his commitment to those he loves, especially Steffy Forrester, his wife, and their complicated family. Finn's life has revolved around putting Steffy's needs and happiness above all else, often bending over backward to meet every demand she placed upon him, no matter how difficult or emotionally taxing. For a long time, this unyielding devotion seemed enough to hold their marriage together and to maintain a semblance of peace amidst the constant storms that define their lives. However, cracks are now becoming visible in the seemingly perfect facade of their relationship, and the upcoming weeks promise to reveal a side of Dr. Finn never before seen by fans of The Bold and the Beautiful. The unshakable doctor who once appeared stoic and almost invincible in the face of adversity is beginning to buckle under the weight of the losses and betrayals he has endured, especially when it comes to the heartbreaking death of his biological daughter and cousin, Luna Nozawa, which has become an emotional chasm too wide to bridge. Initially, Finn appeared almost eerily detached when he learned of Luna's supposed death following the deadly shootout that upended their lives. The immediate urgency of saving Liam Spencer's life seemed to overshadow his grief, pushing Luna's loss to the background as everyone rallied around Liam's medical crisis. But as the chaos subsides and the dust begins to settle, the emotional repercussions of Luna's death are forcing Finn to confront a grief that he had been trying to suppress. The young doctor, who once seemed unbreakable, is now grappling with the reality of losing his daughter, a loss that strikes at the core of his identity, shaking the foundation of his marriage. Adding salt to the wound is the chilling fact that Steffy Forrester, queen of the Forrester family and the woman Finn has sacrificed so much for, shows a callous indifference to his pain. Instead of sharing in his grief or offering solace, Steffy appears secretly relieved that Luna is gone, seeing her as a threat removed rather than a tragic victim to mourn. This coldness from Steffy, combined with her decision to leave town during Finn's time of greatest need to care for her dying ex-husband, Liam Spencer, only widens the rift between them. When Steffy finally returns, the husband who welcomed her with open arms before may be gone, replaced by a man hardened by betrayal and grief, questioning whether the life they built can survive the storm raging between them. Throughout their marriage, Finn has forgiven and overlooked a litany of Steffy's missteps and emotional wounds, often attributing her flaws to the complicated histories they share. But now, with Luna's death hanging like a dark cloud over them, Steffy's relentless blame directed at Finn as if he is responsible for being the sperm donor to Aunt Poppy's troubled daughter feels cruel and unjust. For someone who has given so much of himself, it seems Finn has finally reached a point where enough is enough. Spoilers suggest that when Steffy returns after John Finn Finnegan's maternity leave, she might be met not with a warm embrace but with divorce papers from a husband who refuses to be scapegoated any longer. Fans are left wondering, does Finn deserve better? Has Steffy crossed a line in blaming him for crimes and tragedies beyond his control? Their once rock-solid relationship appears to be unraveling at the seams, promising one of the most emotionally charged storylines the show has seen in recent memory. Meanwhile, the specter of Luna Nozawa continues to haunt the Forrester family and their allies in unexpected ways, particularly threatening the blossoming romance between Will Spencer and Elektra Forrester. Though the official narrative, propagated by Luna's Aunt Lee Finnegan, is that Luna passed away during recovery, there are numerous clues hinting that this story may be a fabrication. Lee, having once faked John Finnegan's death, seems capable of orchestrating such an elaborate deception to protect Luna from the consequences of her violent actions that included killing 2 people, shooting her own grandmother Sheila, and attempting to murder Liam Spencer. With the others ready to move past the Luna drama, Will and Elektra find themselves caught in the crossfire, struggling to build a future together while the past refuses to let go. Will's undercover sting operation forced him into uncomfortable proximity with Luna, requiring him to utter harsh words to Elektra and even share intimate moments with Luna, all of which deeply unsettled Elektra. This psychological residue continues to impact their relationship. Elektra remains hesitant to deepen their physical connection, dragging her feet while Will grows increasingly eager to move their relationship to the next level. The trauma of that mission, combined with the ongoing uncertainty about Luna's fate, complicates matters further. Even as Elektra considers taking a leap of faith with Will, she finds herself haunted by memories of him kissing Luna, which cast a shadow over their intimacy. On the other side, Will's psyche may not be immune to these ghosts either. Imagine if Will begins to envision Luna's presence during moments with Elektra, causing confusion and fear that jeopardize their fragile relationship. Such a psychological entanglement would not only provide fertile ground for dramatic tension but also allow the show to keep Luna's character relevant through haunting visions or fantasy sequences even if she remains physically absent. Moreover, it appears increasingly likely that Lee Finnegan is harboring Luna somewhere safe, nursing her back to health or at least ensuring her survival away from prying eyes. This raises numerous questions. Did Lee ever complete Luna's surgery? Is Luna truly dead, or merely hidden? The implications of such a revelation are vast, threatening to upend multiple storylines and character arcs. If Luna's survival comes to light, Lee's role in the deception could cost her medical license and credibility, and the ripple effect would extend to other characters as well. For instance, Remy's character currently seems at a dead end. If Luna is truly dead, his involvement may diminish, but her survival could reinvigorate his narrative thread, drawing him back into the fray. Fans and critics alike have voiced skepticism about the Luna storyline, with many pointing out the lack of definitive proof of her death, no body shown, no completed surgery scene, and inconsistent details fueling speculation. Some have likened the Luna plot to a retread of Finn's presumed death storyline, complete with Sheila's interference and high drama, though others question the repetitiveness and feasibility of such twists. Nonetheless, the show's producers appear to value Luna's character and the actor's popularity, possibly intending to keep her involved either directly or through symbolic appearances for some time. Luna's Emmy nomination has only heightened her importance, suggesting that The Bold and the Beautiful is invested in maintaining her presence in the narrative. Given all this,